Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural MAP talk titled What's Driving Tucson's Economy? We have two presenters this morning, me, George Hammond, Director of the Economic and Business Research Center, and Jennifer Pullen, our excellent MAP dashboard coordinator. Since it looks like people are still signing in, we're going to wait about another minute, and then we'll begin the presentation. So please stay tuned. Well, good morning, everybody. Once again, welcome to the inaugural MAP talk titled What's Driving Tucson's Economy? Now, my name is George Hammond. I'm Director of the Economic and Business Research Center here in the Eller College at the University of Arizona. And I'm going to talk to you for just about a couple of minutes and give you a little bit of an overview of the dashboard. And then I'll turn things over to Jennifer Pullen, and she'll take you through the full presentation. So first of all, let's talk about the meeting details. One thing to keep in mind is that the MAP talks will all be recorded. And you'll be able to find recordings of the MAP talks on the MAP dashboard website. So please check those out. We'll send you an email when the recordings are posted. Second thing you want to keep in mind is that we are going to be in conference mode, which means that everyone is going to be muted except the presenter. Now, you will be able to ask questions during the presentation. So you can email Jennifer anytime at jpullen@eller.arizona.edu. So please send in your questions as we go through the presentation, and we will take a couple of minutes to answer any of those questions that we get. If we run out of time, we'll respond to your question via email. So with that, let's jump in. I'll give you a little bit of an overview of the MAP dashboard project in case you're not familiar with it. The dashboard is the product of a partnership between the Community Foundation for Southern Arizona, the Pima Association of Governments, the Southern Arizona Leadership Council, and the University of Arizona. And the basic idea behind the dashboard is to provide a trusted source of information that the community can use to measure progress and inspire action. And of course, the MAP dashboard is not designed to be a data warehouse. It is designed, however, to be an engaging and interesting source of information that you can use to better understand where the Tucson economy, where Tucson overall is at the moment, what are the latest trends, and you can also benchmark Tucson's progress against 38 other geographies, including all Arizona counties, 11 other western metropolitan areas, 10 western states, and the nation. So it's a really great source of information, and Jennifer is going to show you how we use it to think about Tucson's economy. I also want to point out to you that the MAP dashboard is now an award-winning website. Last year, the dashboard was awarded the 2016 Award for Website Excellence by the Association for University Business and Economic Research. We also won the Data Viz Award from the Association for Public Data Users. We won the Common Ground Award from the Metropolitan Pima Alliance, and we were one of 3 finalists for the Governor's Celebration of Innovation in Academia. So we're really proud of the dashboard. We hope that you find it useful. And let's move into the next part of our presentation. Just before we get there, however, I want to do a little bit of shameless self-promotion, something for which I'm well known. The Economic and Business Research Center does a wide variety of things. One of the things that we do is 2 big conferences throughout the year. The next one is coming up on Friday, December 8th, and that's our Economic Outlook Luncheon. And this really looks at where Tucson and the nation and the world are headed over the next 5 or 10 years. I'll be speaking at that luncheon about the forecast for Tucson, and we'll have Anthony Chan from JP Morgan Chase talking about what's going on nationally and globally. And this is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase. Now, registration is open, and you can register at eller.arizona.edu/outlook/2017. Okay, so I'll now turn the microphone over to Jennifer Pullen. Jennifer is our excellent map dashboard coordinator, and she is going to take you through what's driving Tucson's economy.
Good morning. It's great to be here with you guys this morning. I just want to apologize to begin with that I'm getting over a cold, so my voice is a little bit scratchy and I may take the occasional break to cough. So I apologize for that. We're going to start here with a really quick look at the homepage of the map dashboard and then dive right into what's driving Tucson's economy. So I want to start by showing you that we have 6 different categories on the map dashboard. I'm just going to hover over each of them so you can see that mega menu that drops down. Each of these 6 categories contains 6 indicators and an overview page, making for 36 core indicators found on the map dashboard that look at a wide range of socioeconomic indicators. And we disaggregate all of this data into as many ways as we possibly can. So we're going to break it down by age, by race and ethnicity, by occupation, by industry, to really get a good sense of what's going on within our community. We also compare Tucson to 37 other geographies. So we have the U.S., the 10 western states, 11 pure metropolitan areas, and all 15 Arizona counties for most of these 36 indicators. Just below that mega menu, you see this rotating slideshow. We write 2 feature articles each month. They're highlighted here. And click on the picture, it will take you directly to that article. Likewise, just below that in this block here that I'm hovering over, this is where you find our most recent feature article. So you come back to the website about every 2 weeks, you'll find a new article in this slot here. Next to that, you have an Explore Your County map. This is a great resource for those looking for some top-level statistical information at the county level, things like poverty, educational attainment, and population. If you scroll down the web page just a little bit, there's a couple things here I want to mention. First, ask a researcher. This is a great way for you to engage with us, ask us questions about the data you find on the map dashboard. If you submit the form, one of the researchers within the Economic and Business Research Center will respond to your question, and typical response time is about 48 hours. Just below that, a subscribe for updates. We send out a monthly newsletter. This is a great way to stay up to date on any upcoming webinars, new data releases, new indicators that we're adding to the website, and feature articles. Likewise, you can find new articles and data that's been updated here in the Worth Noting section. And then we are active on Twitter and Facebook, so I encourage you to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And then George mentioned the partnership. And if you're interested in learning more about that partnership, you can click on our partners here, or if we have several community sponsors as well. If you're interested in learning about those sponsors or becoming a sponsor, you can click on this link and get more information there. So now we're all here today to talk about what's driving Tucson's economy. So I thought that we would start with the economy overview page. Each of our categories contains an overview page. This provides you with a snapshot of how we're doing across the 6 different indicators that are included in each of those 6 categories. So here you can see we list those 6 indicators in the first column, followed by that second column, which has that most recent year of data. The next column has an icon that depicts how we're doing overall relative to those 11 other peer metropolitan areas. A sun would indicate that we're in the top third, partly sunny in the middle third, cloudy in the bottom third, and a thunderstorm icon would mean we're ranked last. And then that last column indicates that recent change. So are we making progress? Are we falling behind or staying the same in these key indicators? So you can see a couple things I want to point out. Housing affordability. This is a new indicator that we just added to the MAP dashboard. This looks at the share of those earning the median family income that can afford to purchase a home, and that was 76.3%. We are ranked number 1 relative to our peer communities, thus giving us a sun with a slight decrease from the last year. I also want to point out patents. This is a measure of innovation and also a place Tucson does very well. Here we also had a slight decrease from the last year of data, but 17.4 patents per 10,000 workers. We rank very highly relative to our other peer communities. But we also notice from this scorecard that we have thunderstorm icons in business growth, employment growth, and real GDP. And that's where we're going to focus most of our time on today, is discussing what's going on with these 3 key indicators. You'll also notice if you look at that last column that business growth, employment growth, and GDP have all been positive the last year. This is a good sign for Tucson. We're growing in all 3 of those areas. So we're going to jump into business growth right now. And the first thing you're going to notice is that each of our indicators on the MAP dashboard contain a summary tab, a comparison tab, and a maps tab. The summary tab is where you're going to find all of the context, the information, and the engaging visualization. If you go to the comparison tab, that is where you're going to find all of that comparative data for all 38 of the geographies that we look at and all of the disaggregated data. The maps tab is a visual presentation of the data using maps. So here we start with a high impact visualization. You can see that we have a fuel gauge. It clearly illustrates that Tucson is last relative to the other 11 metropolitan areas. It also shows you how Tucson is doing relative to the US. We can see that business growth, or this is the growth rate in establishments, accelerated during 2016, but we still lag behind our peer communities. So business growth is important because it measures the change in total establishments and reflects how dynamic the local economy is. Areas with strong business growth also tend to generate strong gains in jobs and income. So this is an important measure for us to track on the MAP dashboard. If we scroll down a little bit, you can see that we have all of that context about what's going on. So if you're interested in other indicators, you can go and learn about that information on the summary page. Likewise, if you continue, we're going to disaggregate this data. And in this graph right here, we're looking at the share of total business starts. So these are just new establishments that are starting in Tucson. In which industry represented the largest? You can see here it was professional and business services with 21% of the new business starts, followed by trade, transportation, and utilities, and financial activities. If you scroll down just a little bit further, we're going to talk about the key trends and all of these graphs. I'm going to mention our interactive. You can hover over the line and get that data point and the year. You can click off a geography and that graph will regenerate, make it a little bit easier to read. So I've clicked off Arizona so we can look at what's going on in Tucson relative to the US. And so here we see a sharp decline that was associated with the Great Recession, a loss of 6.1% in 2009, followed by a steady increase up until about 2012. And this is important. In 2012 is when the federal sequester happened, and this is going to be a key point across the 3 indicators that we look at today. And so we have a lot of volatility following 2012, and this has to do with both the federal sequester and that Tucson is not well diversified in its industrial mix, which we'll see when we look at gross domestic product in a moment. So now we're going to jump into employment growth. So we'll go over here, click on employment growth by industry. We can take a look at what's going on. Again, we know that we're ranked last relative to our peer communities. But if you'll notice, we're not that far behind the U.S. We had accelerated growth again in 2016, just like business growth. And we're just a few percentage points here, tenths behind the U.S. And then about a percentage point to two behind our peer Western communities. What's interesting here is we look at that key trend. Again, I'm going to click off Arizona so that we can compare Tucson to the U.S. We see that steep decline during the Great Recession, bottoming out here in 2009 at losses of 5.3%. Again, a steady increase up into 2012, just like business growth. And then growth has been very slow compared to the U.S. since 2012. And again, this has to do with the industrial mix of Tucson's economy and the federal sequester. So before we jump into GDP, which is really the best place to look at the industrial mix and what's driving this slow growth and the slow growth in business starts, is I want to show you, if we go into the comparison page, we can look at which industries have been growing quickly in Tucson and which have not. So this again is where you can find that data for all 38 of our geographies. Each of our graphs on these pages are going to default to the U.S., Arizona, and Tucson. If you're interested in comparing Tucson to one of the other geographies, you can click off U.S. and Arizona. Let's compare to Phoenix here. Click on that geography you're interested in, and we can see that the growth rate in total non-farm employment was 3.1% for Phoenix in 2016 and 1.3% in Tucson. But also, we have all of the industries listed here in this drop-down menu. So let's take a look at manufacturing. We can see that over time, manufacturing has been down in Tucson until recently. Here we had growth of 2.7% in 2016. So an area where Tucson is growing strongly. Also, take a look at education and health services. This has been pretty strong for Tucson for the last decade, and it's right on par with the state and with the U.S., right there around 3%. Another area Tucson has been growing rapidly is in leisure and hospitality. This represents restaurants, bars, resorts, hotels. And you can see that that has been strong since the Great Recession and is again right on par with the U.S. and the state. Then let's take a look at government. So government has been unusually slow in Tucson the last few years. You can see it was down during the Great Recession, and then it's been down since 2012. And we finally started to see a little bit of an increase here during 2016. This is very important for Tucson because government is a large share of Tucson's economy, represents a large share of our economy. So the best place to see that is in GDP by industry. So we'll click here. We've gone to GDP by industry. You can see here's the growth rate of real GDP, slight acceleration in 2016 at 0.2, but far beyond our peer communities in the Western U.S. and the nation as a whole, but a large increase from 2015. But what we find most interesting about GDP is when you break out the share of GDP by industry. So here we have all of our industries listed, and you can see that government represents the largest share in Tucson of GDP. Excuse me. So government at 22, just under 22%. It's also an important industry for the U.S. at 12.3%, one of the largest, not quite the largest. In financial activities is larger at 21%. But government is important, and especially important for Tucson. We can break government shares down a little bit more. Here you can see we have it by federal civilian, federal military, and state and local. Federal civilian in Tucson, 4.6% compared to 2.3%, so double the nation. Federal military at 3%, which is about triple the nation. State and local, which is going to represent University of Arizona employees at 14.1%, is about 50% of the nation. So here, as we start to break down and look at how important government is to Tucson, you start to understand and think about what happened in 2012 with the federal sequester. And so here we see that decrease in real GDP from the Great Recession that dropped from 4.3 in 2007 to a loss of 6.3% during 2009. Slight increase again up until 2012, and then the federal sequester happened in 2012, which cut spending during 2013. So a sharp decline again in 2013, and it has been very slow to rebound since then. But we have started to see a little bit of growth during 2016, and this impacts not just gross domestic product, but also employment growth by industry and business starts. So we're very specialized in a sector that's not growing. Essentially what's going on is that government represents such a large sector of our economy and government is not growing. We've seen several industries where we are growing: manufacturing, education, health, leisure and hospitality, information, but that growth in those industries is not enough to bring us back up to the national level in employment growth, in GDP, or in business starts. So as government begins to grow in the future, we should start to see some gains back as we get closer to the national level. So if you're interested, you can look at the comparison page, and we will have that breakdown by all industries across each industry for all of those geographies that we track by GDP. So if you're interested in that government share, or if you're interested in that manufacturing share, you can go through each of those industries and look at them. So I'm going to go back to the home page now and mention again, sign up for updates. That's the best way to stay up to date on new data releases, new webinars that we have coming out. And if you're interested in any of our archived articles, future articles, I encourage you to click on the library. We have each of those 2 articles that we write each month are organized in our library, and they're organized by category. So we have our 6 categories. Additionally, we have information at the city level. So our 27 most populous cities in southern Arizona, you have articles on that. And then we commission white papers from University of Arizona faculty. And if you click on that link, it will take you directly to those white papers. So I thank you for your time. We have about 6 minutes left to answer questions. So I'm going to, we're going to take a look here. Give us just a minute. We're going to take a look at the questions and we'll be back to answer them. Okay, it appears that we have no questions, so I'm just going to spend a couple moments here talking about some other feature articles I think that you guys might be interested in. One is this article on NAFTA and its role in border trade. This links to an article written by Vera Paklovich here at the Economic and Business Research Center and goes to the Arizona-Mexico Indicators website. This is a great place to get information on trade, tourism, border crossing, and economic performance for Arizona and Mexico. This is a great article on NAFTA, something that's been in the news lately. So I encourage you to take a look at that. If we go back, we also just put up a new article has a great geospatial map that you can navigate to look at how the commuting trends in the Pima metropolitan area. And then there's one other article I wanted to show, which I think you might be interested in. If you click on the economy link, we published it a while back. So if you click on the economy link, it will be the best way to get to it. And it looks at different income measures and education measures for Tucson's neighborhoods. So you can go in here, there's a map, you can click you can type in your address here if you'd like, or you can click on a census tract, which I'll do, and you'll see that this gives you the educational attainment and the different income measures for those for that particular census tract. So you can also switch it down here. This is the educational attainment map. This is the median household income map, and you can look at that variation across the Tucson metropolitan area. So if you think of any questions over the course of the day, please feel free to send us an email, and thank you for attending.